This is lesson 1.5, evaluating algebraic expressions. In this lesson, you'll evaluate algebraic expressions when you are given a value. Remember the word evaluate. For an algebraic expression, it means the process of replacing the variables in the expression with numeric values and simplifying it, or getting it down to one numeric value. So even though the expression has variables in it, you are going to be given the values of those variables, and then once you plug them in, you will turn it into a numeric expression. Numeric expressions, remember, you have to use the order of operations to get it down to that single numeric value. And again, remember that the expression is a mathematical phrase that combines numbers and or variables using mathematical operations. It does not contain an equal sign. So you can only evaluate numeric and algebraic expressions. This is not the same thing as what we're going to find out in the future here, called solving. So evaluating just means to get it down to a numeric value. When you're evaluating algebraic expressions, you're going to have to do an action called substitution or substitute. You're going to be told what the value of each one of the variables are equal to, and you're going to have to replace it. Once you do that, you will still use those order of operations. Remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So you have to evaluate the expressions inside parentheses first, evaluate all exponents, and then perform all multiplication and division from left to right, and then all addition and subtraction from left to right. So let's take a look at an example first of what type of expression do you see there? That 5 squared plus 5 minus 12 divided by 4. This is just like the type of problem we had in the previous lesson. This is a numeric expression because there's no variables. So we use our order of operations. You solve what's inside parentheses first. So I'm going to just copy the whole rest of the problem, but then solve what's in parentheses. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Then I evaluate the exponents. 5 to the second, well, that's 5 times 5, which is 25, and copy the rest of the problem down. Then I perform any multiplication or division from left to right. This problem does not have any. That is supposed to be a plus sign. I'm writing an 8 right now. So there's none there. And then perform any addition and subtraction from left to right. So we have an addition problem. 25 plus 5 is 30. And then we have a subtraction problem. 30 minus 3 is 27. So there's that single numeric value, and we knew we were going to get that because the direction says to evaluate. So that's a numeric expression. Now let's look at what the difference is between this and an algebraic expression. So here we have the problem 5 minus the quantity x minus y, and we're told to use x is equal to 9 or y is equal to 6. This type of problem, they could tell you what the variables are equal to in several different ways. No matter what, they'll give you the expression. In this case, our expression is 5 minus xy. I'm going to go ahead and copy this down just for a second. It's just so that we have it big. So there's our algebraic expression. What comes after that is the values of the variables that you are given. So it says identify the given variables. When you're evaluating algebraic expression, they have to give you all the variables. So they'll either say use, or they'll say let x equal 9, y equal 6. They'll use the word let instead of use. I'm trying to think of other ways that they tell you. Sometimes evaluating an expression means it's a formula, and so it's a story problem that you have to plug in, or maybe it's they'll give you a picture. Instead of they saying length and width, like they'll give you the expression area equals, I don't know, I guess a perimeter. Area equals base times height. You probably heard of that before in early elementary with geometry. Well, they didn't tell you what B and H is with the letters. Instead, they showed it with the pictures, the base of 2 and the height of 4. So there's different ways that they can give you the values of the variables. So back to our problem. The next step is to substitute the number in the number for the variable. So we're going to rewrite this again, but wherever we see a variable, we're going to replace it with an actual number. So I have 5 minus, I make sure I copy everything down. I see my first variable, this x. So I'm told that x is equal to 9, so I just rewrite 9. I do not write 9x. Careful, I see people do this all the time. So you just replace the x with the 9. Copy down the rest of the problem, don't forget those operations there. And then y equals 6, so I'm going to replace the 6 in the parenthesis. Now look what I have. I just turned my algebraic expression into a numeric expression. Because it's a numeric expression now I can apply that order of operations. So order of operations says I need to do what's in parentheses first, so I would write 5 and then do 9 minus 6 is 3. Think for a second. 5 minus 3 is then 2. And there's that numeric answer. Because they tell us to evaluate, we know we'll just get a number as our answer. I'll do maybe 2 more problems with you off of the guided practice, and then you can finish up the guided practice on your own. Because I'm not going to do all of them in this video and let you do them and then self-check correct, let me pick some of the ones that I know students sometimes have trouble with. So let's do this one right here together. Actually, all of these problems pretty much are easy in my opinion because none of them, they didn't give you values of negative numbers. Those can be really tricky. So I'm going to write down the parenthesis and I'm just going to work my way left to right. I see a y there, so I know I don't need to write a y, I need to write 9 instead of that y. I copy down the next set of parentheses, 1 plus, and I see another variable, so I'm going to stop and look and see what value is that supposed to be. It's supposed to be a 3. Then I finish copying the rest of the problem. Now that I have a numeric expression, I need to use the order of operations. So go ahead and try finishing this problem, push pause and then push play when you're ready to finish checking. Alright, you ready? So I've got a set of parentheses here. I need to do the innermost first. So I have 9 and inside that 1 plus 3 is 4 parentheses. Notice what I did here. I kept that parenthesis here because this 9 is right beside this parenthesis. Remember when I showed you different ways to show multiplication? If you had a constant times another constant, that sometimes we just show it with parentheses instead of a dot, or a multiplication, obviously not a multiplication symbol because, or an x, because we don't want to do that in algebra. We'll get confused with the variable x. So that's why I had to leave it that way. Otherwise, if you didn't, you would have may have written this, and it looks like the number 94. So that's why people usually miss this problem. So then you'd have to multiply 9 times 4, 36, and that would be your final answer. Alright, let's take a look at the problem that's right below the one we just worked on. So again, I'm going to work my way left to right, stopping every time I see a variable. So right off the bat I have a variable, so I need to write down its value instead of the variable, the 1. plus, there's my next variable, a j, so I need to replace that variable with the value that I'm given, the 8, and my minus sign, parenthesis, 3, minus, there's another variable, so I stop, put in the value, and then the parenthesis. So now I need to follow my order of operations. Whatever's in parentheses first, 1 plus 8 minus 3 minus 1 is 2. And then follow your order of operations. 1 plus 8 is 8 minus 2 equals 6. So that problem wasn't as bad. I was trying to find one with the parentheses that you need to be careful with, and okay, we're going to do the one right beside it. I guess that's the one I was trying to find. So again, we start with a variable, so I'm going to write down the value of its variable, copy the problem. I come to the next variable, so I copy down and replace the second variable. Oh, this still didn't do what I was worried about. I'm trying to look for ones that would have negative numbers and just be cautious about certain things with negative numbers. So follow the order of operations. 1 plus 8 minus 3 is 0. So then I follow the operation of 1 plus 8 is 9 minus the 0 that's there equals just 9. Okay, the rest of these I think you can do on your own for practice, and you can self-check and correct. But before I leave you to that, I want to pull up some examples of some special cases that I know of that's not on your paper, so you might want to find a blank spot or back side of a page or add a page to your notebook so that we can look at some of these. Okay, here we go. If I had 2 minus x minus y like this, I'm going to copy down, replacing all my variables with the values I'm given. So far, so good. Follow my order operations. 2 minus, here I have 3 minus 4. I hope that you did not write down 1 right now or think 1. This is a 3, take away a 4. Well, 4 is bigger than 3. We're going to get into some integers here. So what did we do when we had integers? This is keep, change, change. The same idea there. So you'd take their opposite signs, so you'd have to subtract. 3 minus 4 is 1. So yeah, you're thinking 1, but here's what everybody forgets or doesn't think of. The bigger sign wins, so it should be a negative 1. Don't treat that as the negative sign for that negative 1. That's the subtraction sign that you brought down. That doesn't go away or suddenly replace the fact that this is supposed to be a negative 1 right here. Now the problem reads 2 minus negative 1. Again, it's a subtraction problem, so you got to keep, change, change. Change that negative to a positive 1. 2 plus 1 then is 3. So that would be your final answer. So you can see how negatives can sometimes be confusing even when you're using your order of operations, you're simplifying expressions by evaluating them. Okay, now you may finish your guided practice, self-check and correct, and then when you're all done, you're going to do your homework for lessons 1.2 through 1.3 all the way through 1.5, so 3 lessons today. Good luck.